Hello and welcome to the What Caregivers Need to Know, brought to you by eCareDiary.com. I'm Susan Bida, the founder of eCareDiary. We're very pleased to bring with you a special program today where we discuss culture change amongst senior care providers and senior living communities. And I'm very excited to present to you Pastor Gary Gibson, who is currently serving the North Buffalo Presbyterian Church in Washington, PA. And he also serves as the director of pastoral care for Presbyterian Senior Care's Washington campus, and is their culture change champion and advocate. Very excited to talk about this topic. Pastor Gary has been a national speaker for the Pioneer Network as well on spirituality in the workplace. Don't we need more of that?
We all.
And how a healthy spirit enhances your culture change journey. So we really need to learn a little bit more about culture change. And before we get to all that, I'd like to share that if you are interested in learning about Pastor Gary and his work on culture change, please visit www.seniorcare.org. That is srcare.org.
Right.
Welcome, Pastor
Thank
Gary.
you very much, Susan, for having me.
Yes, well, please tell us about culture change. And, one of the reasons I think we met was I was part of this incredibly stimulating roundtable discussion about culture change amongst the senior population. Let's tell us about that.
Yeah, that was at a SWIP event, which is an aging conference that's held annually at Robert Morris College, is where we met. Pioneer Network began in 1997 by a group of healthcare professionals who were looking to make radical changes in long-term care. And I would say the best way to describe that is the fact that I think we have a tendency when people go into long-term care that we give up all of our choices, that we give up all of the things that we take for granted living at home independently, and nothing could be further from the truth. Again, the Pioneer Network started back in 1997. It is now thriving today. That their annual conference, they have somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 folks attending, and it is all about changing culture. They have a different tagline every year for their conference, but one of the ones that stands out to me the best and sticks with me, and I like to share with everybody when it comes to seniors and long-term care, and that is that we should hear their voice and we should honor their choice. And that's what the Pioneer Network is all about more than anything else when it comes to seniors.
And I have to say, I was so taken with the direction in which culture change is headed. I remember during that discussion that we were talking about how senior care providers were, seniors were receiving kind of this institutionalized care, but then we moved and progressed towards patient-centered care.
Correct.
And now we're talking about something new, which I'd love for you to share with our audience.
Yeah, it's kind of the difference between the two. And first of all, again, what we're trying to move from is an institutional model to a home-like model. Let's face it, we all do better when we're home. When you're hospitalized, our primary concern is getting out of the hospital and getting into a home environment. Going back to your question, the difference between patient-centered care and patient-directed care, for the last 10 or 11 years probably, we've put a tremendous amount of focus on patient-centered care. That means we're centering on the patient's care, whether that's through dietary, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through activities. And what we're changing and seeing that it is a better way to go about it is to do what we call person-directed care, which means I as the resident or I as the patient directs the staff as to what is best for me. Whether that's about the activities I want to participate in on any one given day, whether that's about the food that I have. Again, it goes back to making choices that best is of the best advantage to me being the resident. And those are all choices from the time I want to get up in the morning. I don't know about you, but a lot of people don't like to be up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. They like to sleep until 8 or 9 o'clock. So wouldn't it make sense to take all of those folks in our building and put those in one particular neighborhood so we didn't have to disturb them? And I'm glad I brought up the word, because the model now is we don't call them nursing homes, we call them neighborhoods. We call them communities. In other words, if you had 20 patients living in a hallway, a lot of institutional models would say, oh yeah, that's all the residents who live on third floor north. Well, now we're asking the residents to name those hallways as communities. We all came from a community, a small town somewhere. So in the latter part of your life, why shouldn't you be part in naming the community where you live?
That makes so much sense, and it's so much more humane. And of course, your average senior wouldn't like the concept of living in a senior care community that's like that, that's institutional. So this makes absolute sense, and it certainly sounds more appealing, you know.
Right. Yeah.
To your
Well,
average
yeah. And when you say the average person, and even though the Pioneer Network has been in existence for the number of years that it has been, we feel at this point we've only managed to affect or have an effect on only about 20% of nursing home communities or neighborhoods in the United States. And that's our biggest goal at this point, is to try to get as many people involved as possible. When it comes to us being baby boomers, looking for a place to for our parents or our grandparents to live, that's one of the things that your listeners needs to know. When you go into one of those places, you need to ask them about culture change. Is it something they're familiar with? Will my mother living here have a choice about what time she gets up in the morning, what she wants for lunch? Does she want to participate in activities? You know, in nursing homes, most people think there are 3 things that folks do, and they all start with B. They think we do nothing but play bingo, go to birthday parties, or have Bible study. I can assure you that nothing could be further from the truth. We have trips where we take our folks to the casino, we go out to eat. Most facilities are blessed with at least 1 or 2 buses. So again, why shouldn't the residents say, this is my home, I love being here, and I love the care that I'm getting, but I also want to be able to go out into the neighborhood and see what's going on in the world as well, which means we're giving them the choice.
Now, so this is very exciting, the concept of culture change and person-directed or patient-directed care. So tell us then a little bit about, and this is being led by the Pioneer Network, which is a national organization, and then there's also the Pennsylvania Culture Change Coalition. Can you tell us a little bit about both organizations?
Sure. Well, the Pioneer Network was first. They've been in existence again for almost 20 years. And then next came the Pennsylvania Culture Change Coalition. I believe 38 states in the United States have coalitions, culture change coalitions. We're very proud of the fact that Pennsylvania was the first one. We've been in existence for 18 years. And again, the primary focus for the Pennsylvania Culture Change Coalition is to make whatever wonderful changes that we can to long-term care. And we work in concert with the Pioneer Network. They would be kind of like, they don't really oversee us, but they're kind of the guiding force in our lives that really made us create the coalition that we have now in Pennsylvania. And I serve on their board for the state.
That's fantastic. And do we have an idea of how much culture change is impacting senior communities yet, or?
I want to say in southwestern Pennsylvania, I think we're doing a really good job. Again, I think one of the reasons why it is the fact that it is so consumer driven. Let's face it, I'm a baby boomer. When it comes time for me to be in skilled care or independent living on a campus like senior care or others in southwestern Pennsylvania, I know what I want. And that's the driving force at this point, is that baby boomers know what they want. They're very consumer driven. And in this day and age, when folks have to make that kind of a decision for parents or grandparents, one of the very first places that they go is the internet. Obviously, in this day and age, to find out what's available. And again, I can't impress upon your listeners enough to know that when it comes time for some kind of placement, that you go and you visit those places, you talk to the director of nursing, you talk to the activities director, you talk to the chaplain to make sure that your loved one's spiritual well-being is going to be not only addressed, but it's going to be met every single day. So it's incredibly important for all of us.
Pastor Gary, thank you so much for coming on our show today to share about all the progressive activities, I guess, to help improve senior communities and senior life in in senior care communities. So thank you very much for coming. I hope you come back and share with us.
Absolutely. It's been a real pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope more than anything we've shared something today with your listeners that when it comes to making that decision, it will be a lot easier, a lot more educated, and a lot more informative.
Absolutely. And you wanted to mention that the Pennsylvania Culture Change Coalition has a training event 4 times a year.
Correct.
And where is that?
They do. You can go to the Pennsylvania Culture Change Coalition website, and there is a place there that you can check on events. There are 30 different locations around the state of Pennsylvania. They're free. For instance, you could go to one in Presbyterian Senior Care's campus in Oakmont. You could go to the one in Washington. There are several of them around the Pittsburgh area, and then they go all the way across the state of Pennsylvania. All you need to do is register and show up, and it's a free 1-hour education event.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you all for joining us. Stick with us. We'll be inviting future guests next week on various topics related to elder care and caregiving. Thank you so much.